You know, you've been wondering these last few days. It's been a very quiet Sportswire radio. Hasn't been much to talk about in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform that you built, the platform, the only one where all music and wrestling matters. Well, we're going to resoundingly pick things up here and some tonight because we have a lot to talk about with a man that, while he very well is still underappreciated in BCW, did he have a passing of the torch moment last night at 155 with a Bitcoin billionaire? We're going to get into that. We're also going to talk about what's up with that with our guest not on the entire card of American Anarchy, which is coming up next Saturday night. We're going to certainly bring up Tsunami once again because it's a familiar face, once again, wrestling Tsunami. And what is the state of BCW, especially when it comes to our guest? Boy, we have a litany of topics here to get to, and you might be dealing now with a heat wave because all of a sudden now here in the Northeast, we were going with rain, go away, and cold and damp to now a heat wave to start the summer and the weekend off early in style. But before I do that and introduce our guest, as I always say, as now he's become a familiar face here and a favorite one that is here on Sportswire Radio, in the famous words of Def Leppard frontman Joe Elliott, let's get rocked, baby, because I know my chat's waiting for it because they've been wondering, where have I been? He's waiting for it, and I'm sure those in the BCW verse are waiting for it. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this show off in style on Sportswire Radio, the number one global radio station where all music and wrestling matters. So, with that, further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one global sports show, a man that helped build BCW to get to over 1,500 subscribers. A man that they've called a master of brutality, and a man who may have just had a moment we haven't seen in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit in a very long time. His name is, simply put, So my friend, how are we doing?
We're doing a lot better, after last night compared to how I've been over the past few weeks. This is my first time on here talking since BCW 150. Difficult loss for me, but there's nothing I could say. At Trampomania, I came on here and I said I was robbed and cheated out of the BCW championship, which was true. But at BCW 150, I came short, and that's on me, and I take accountability for that. And then, talking about what happened with that, going into accepting the hardcore title open challenge with Tommy Good and what went into that. And, I was still banged up from BCW 150, one of the more brutal matches in BCW in the pouring rain nonetheless.
Yeah, we were here with you in Tsunami. We certainly set the tables for that, and there was a lot on the line, and it was very personal, and we saw some of that play out here, and it was obviously not the way you would have hoped.
No, yeah, no, definitely not. A credit to myself, a small accreditation. It's, but it doesn't really make up for the loss. It's that I didn't give up. I didn't tap out. Tsunami did not make me quit. I didn't stay down for a 3 count. I kicked out of multiple punches with the chain that put me down at Trampomania. I was resilient. I showed the resilience that I said I was going to have going into that match. But my body just gave out before my mind did. And, recently I've been working in the gym. I've been working to get my body back to 100% after that match. Going into me last night versus Chase Wakefield, an opponent of his stature, who's done it all, who's been everywhere. I knew what that match could do for me if I succeeded with this opportunity. And I obviously did. And, after winning that match, I'm ready. I'm back on track, back where I belong. I'm focused. I feel healthy. I feel ready to go. And I'm ready to continue my presence as the best wrestler in BCW, who is going to reclaim the BCW championship, because each time I get put down, I get right back up. That's been shown over the course of my entire career, and I'm showing it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. And we're going to talk a lot about Chase Wakefield, a man that has been a staple on this platform for the better part of almost 2 years now. A man that when he comes on here is someone that a lot of people in the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit tune into. So to wrestle somebody like him, that is going to definitely be a topic that I want to get into. But, you touched upon a couple of things. Obviously, you were here a few times with Tsunami. We had some very memorable back and forths. It didn't go the way you hoped. You talked about the hardcore title open challenge with Tommy Good. You went through that. You talked about certainly American Anarchy, which I want to get to. But I'm going to start off in a different way here, Maxel Reeves. For those that are listening and watching here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform that you and BCW most certainly helped build here, Sportswire Radio. Maxel Reeves, how do you feel about the state of BCW?
Tom, BCW is something. It's like I consider it's like a son to me. It's like I'm so attached to it. I've had, BCW started when I was 14 years old. Now, I'm 19 years old. So it's a situation where I've been so attached and invested in this company from the beginning, and I don't want to see that success squandered. And right now, we're still experiencing unprecedented growth. No one else is, having the growth and success in backyard wrestling.
Crazy. You came on here about almost 10 months ago. And I think, like we said, we were talking about around 500 subscribers. Maybe you guys just hit 500, and now we've more than tripled that.
I mean, we just hit 1,000 subscribers at the beginning of this year. We're on pace to hit 2,000, coming up soon, probably after American Anarchy will.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would say probably by the July, August.
Yeah, and it's exciting, and I'm incredibly happy to be a part of it. However, there's some things in BCW where when you're getting this, incredibly large, and you're getting this platform that people want to come into, it's a very attractive opportunity for people to wrestle in. And, for the individuals in BCW, they become a little bit more desperate to be at the top. There's more pressure, there's more eyes. And with a lot of that, is going to come some obvious negative behavior, some corrupt behavior that's going to happen behind the scenes. Like what I'm aware of right now. And this is an exclusive. Obviously, I'm at BCW every week. I'm there every single episode.
Sometimes twice a week, by the way. Sometimes twice.
Yeah, a lot of the time twice. And I don't mind doing it, but by doing that, it's funny. It's like with any other job in the world. It's like when you show up to work a lot, your managers tend to like you. So that's kind of like what my relationship's like after my championship reign with BCW management. And I'm just going to say this: I'm aware of some moves that certain people, Tsunami is making behind the scenes to do a complete company takeover. And I'm going to say right now that that is not going to happen. I said the Tsunami, he was going to have to make sure that there's no more air in my lungs if he wants me to stop coming after him and that BCW championship. And what I said remains exactly true. You see, I'm this match coming up at American Anarchy between Tsunami and NJN, two individuals, two of my biggest rivals in BCW, and this is a match obviously that's highly, highly important. But I truly believe that with what Tsunami's becoming right now, and the status that he's getting into in this company and what he's trying to do behind the scenes, he cannot win this match at American Anarchy. And NJN, as much as I despise the man after what we went through, and
you've been here in the past to talk about him. We've had some controversial finishes in itself between you and NJN over the past several months.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I'm saying is, regardless of how I feel about NJN, it's definitely in this company's best interest for NJN to come out victorious. But unfortunately, NJN made the mistake of not getting the unsanctioned match, and now I feel because of that, Tsunami is going to attempt to cheat to beat NJN. He was never able to beat NJN once in his career, and I feel like he's going to do the same thing. You see, Tsunami is deep down, he is a coward. He is a man who publicly, and when he speaks, he inflates himself to be of this great confidence, but in reality, he doesn't have any of that confidence. In reality, he's scared. He's scared of me. He's scared of NJN. That's why he cheated at Champomania. That's why he stayed away from the BCW Championship fighting Tommy Good for so long. Even though that rivalry was intense, he could have came after the BCW Championship earlier if he had wanted to, but he avoided me until he absolutely could not avoid me anymore. And then he manipulated his way into the match, got the BCW Championship. But I promise you that regardless of who wins this match, NJN or Tsunami, that BCW Championship is coming back where it belongs.
Well, obviously, you said a lot there, and I want to talk about that because certainly NJN, you've had quite a rivalry with over the past year. You have a lot of history with him prior to that. Tsunami, what's been here on this platform, on social media, and certainly on BCW TV, which we'll certainly put some links up here in a minute to get everybody to go out there and support, has been even more documented. But you're almost Maxel Reeves in a position of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because you've got Tsunami, which listen, it's well documented here. Then you've got NJN with your long history there. So really at this point, you don't win either way if you want to get back your BCW championship, because the winner of that match, regardless of how it turns out, you got certainly really no love deep down for both those men.
No, absolutely not. Both of these men have caused me great suffering and great anguish in the past. I have absolute hatred for both of these men, but at the same time, I do feel like with what Tsunami's attempting to do, NJN is the better option, even though he's still mentally unstable after what I did to him last year, destroying his undefeated streak. He was never beaten in professional wrestling before me, and now Tsunami thinks that Tsunami's somebody who's never able to beat this man. He thinks he's going to be able to defeat NJN. He's not. So I'm predicting that NJN will actually win this match, barring any Tsunami cheating or any shenanigans with the referee. I think NJN will win this match. But then at the same time, you're absolutely right. I don't believe that the BCW championship would be in the rightful. I don't think NJN's hands are rightful for that championship. I don't believe that he would carry that championship with the honor and dignity that it deserves, that I feel like I did. So I feel like both of these options aren't better, but it's kind of like when selecting the lesser of two evils, which would be
it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Not to compare it with world politics, but it's kind of almost in that way here in BCW. And there's no question what NJN did with the championship was certainly historic. And Tsunami, whether you like him or not, has been on an incredible run these past few months. It's the first time that these two men are squaring off in 2 years. We know Tsunami's troubles with NJN, but at the end of the day, you want a shot at both men. But it's interesting, Maxel Reeves, you weren't even on American Anarchy here coming up next Saturday. That's got to certainly make you very, very, very upset. I would have to imagine.
Absolutely. American Anarchy is a show that, this is the first year that it's more than a one-match show. In 2022, the first American Anarchy, we had and it was NJM versus Tommy Good, obviously. And then in 2024, when we came back and we had Caden Gallows versus Tsunami, and this year, we're having, as of right now, it's a 2-match card, and it's looking to be a stacked show with the Hardcore Championship and the BCW Championship being defended. But at the same time, I kind of blame myself because I did step in the ring with Tommy Good, and if I won the Hardcore Championship, I'd be wrestling JC Comet at American Anarchy. Unfortunately, things didn't go my way. I was banged up from BCW 150 with Tsunami, which was not too long before that match. But I accepted that match for multiple reasons. I selected that match because Tommy Good is a man I respect, and it's a man I feel that I compete well against, and we challenge each other in a great way. And I went out there because for the love of the company, for the love of that Hardcore Championship, and I went out there and I did my best. In the condition that I was in the injured condition that I was in. And
the physical match with Tsunami right after.
It didn't go my way, but then after accepting that open challenge, I was kind of distraught, and I knew I had to pivot and get back on the right track. So Saturday, the following Saturday on BCW, I went out there and I said that I wanted competition. I wanted to face somebody that I could prove that I belong in the BCW championship picture and beyond. I wanted to face some real competition, and then Chase Wakefield walked in the BCW. It was
we're gonna get into that.
Yeah, definitely excited to get into that. It was something that was really unexpected. I didn't see it coming. Funnily enough, it would have never happened because you're actually the one who connected Chase Wakefield to us, to BCW management through Sportzwire. That was back, all the way back last year now.
Yep, I remember. I didn't want to tip my hand, Mr. Reeves. I didn't. We don't want to say some things that we knew off the air, but yeah, obviously.
Oh no, I wasn't referring to anything off the air. I was just saying, as like I found him through. He would be commenting on here, and the comments would pop up on the stream.
Well, he talked to me about it. He did definitely. There was definitely I'm gonna leave that at that, but certainly there was no question that you were on here, and he definitely watched, and a lot of people watch when you speak. There's no question that I think that in this current backyard circuit, you are now the new guy that everybody is looking at. You're the guy, and certainly BCW is one of those companies that is now at the forefront for whether it's the next wave, next generation, and there's no question that was a match that, if you think about, now we're going to get into it because you brought it up, and very rarely in the backyard circuit do you have a generational match. Now, this coming weekend, we're going to see Best in the Yard, which Mr. Wakefield is going to be a part of. A number of different people that have been here: Brandon Castelli, Aaron Jones, Silas Walker. Shout out to all those guys that are going to be a part of Best in the Yard, and it might be one of their best shows and one of the better shows of the year, and we'll certainly be talking about that, I have no doubt. But this was, to me, and I said this in introducing you, this was a passing of the torch match, I think, from yesterday, a man that was certainly a prevalent force in the backyard circuit that is transitioning a little bit. He certainly got his eye on other places he would like to go to or has. To you, passing that torch, because you're the guy right now. So when I think about this match, which we're going to put up on the screen here in a few minutes, we're going to talk about how it all set up. In many ways, this is kind of a generational match. This is a match, everybody talked about WrestleMania 18. They talked about Hulk Hogan and The Rock, and, Hulk Hogan passes the torch, or Hollywood Hulk Hogan passes the torch to The Rock. And you think about The Rock and how popular he was in the Attitude Era, and certainly Hulkamania in the 80s ran wild, and that was a passing of the torch match. Chase Wakefield at one time was one of the prevalent backyard wrestlers. We think about the Dawn's March. We think about DBW. We think about VTW. We think about Chase Wakefield now about to have another generational event, the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational. And as I mentioned, Best in the Yard here coming up this weekend. We're going to see even guys like Sean Phoenix and Matt DeMorris, legends. He's a part of that era. And not only did you wrestle him, you defeated him. For my money, this is the equivalent of Hulk Hogan and The Rock all those years ago for our backyard and underground wrestling circuit, Maxel Reeves.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Chase Wakefield, somebody who's been a prevalent name in backyard wrestling for years, and
And just wrestled Aaron Blaze and defeated him, another guy that I
yeah,
know that you're neighborly sort of to.
yeah. We talked a lot about Aaron Blaze and before, and we've been in conversation in the past. But yeah, Chase Wakefield coming off that win against Aaron Blaze, going into this match with me. He looked incredible in that match with Aaron
Yep,
Blaze, as did Aaron Blaze. I watched that. Those
me
guys
too.
did put on a great show over there at DBW. But now, what's it called? As I'm looking at, I was looked at this match, and I saw the opportunity, and I knew what this match could be. Having, Chase Wakefield is the most experienced wrestler to ever walk into BCW, and he just walked in.
You
And
talked about it in your promo. This guy's got 10 years. I don't have that, what he has.
yeah, it was 10 years since wrestling on a trampoline or something like that. But yeah, so absolutely, going into this match with Chase Wakefield, I saw the moment, I saw the opportunity, and I seized it. And in regards to what you say about passing the torch, obviously, I just said very respectful of what Chase has accomplished over the years, but I'm not trying to take the torch of anybody. I'm trying to start my own bonfire with BCW, with my own wrestling career. I'm not trying to emulate anybody. I'm not trying to do anything that's been done in the past. I'm trying to break barriers, break boundaries, and become truly one of one, truly a unique performer in professional wrestling that people will remember for years to come, that will become a household name. That's exactly where I think I belong. That's what I'm trying to do. And so, it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's John Cena, if it's The Rock, if it's anybody in professional wrestling who, has all this prestige and all this fame. I'm not trying to take their torch. I'm trying to start my own bonfire. And that's exactly what I think is going to happen.
But there's no question that defeating a man like Chase Wakefield certainly helps that resume.
Oh,
Certainly helps
definitely.
your case in BCW. And, there's very few opportunities to get that moment. Guys like you in your shoes haven't got that opportunity. And for Chase Wakefield to come to BCW and to give us that opportunity and to drive 3 hours plus to get to you and have that moment, I think it certainly speaks volumes. And yeah, you're absolutely right. You should certainly create your own bonfire. You should make your own path, and you'll do that. There's only one Chase Wakefield, and there's only one Maxel Reeves. But to see this match in BCW, a match that most people would have scoffed at. I mean, listen, Chase Wakefield's creating his own wedding invitational. Could be the greatest super show in history. He's a part of Best in the Yard coming up. I'm really excited about that. A lot of guys not only in the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit are paying attention closely to that. DBW, look at his career in DBW, what he's done there, VTW. But this is one of those wins as long as I'm covering the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit, going on 3 years. I'm doing this 6.5, covering wrestling for 5. I think this is the true passing of the torch match that I've seen. I haven't seen really any one of those clear cut like this one, where a guy in Wakefield, over a decade of experience, tips his toes in the water a little bit in the indies, does obviously stuff still. DBW is a drastically different product than it was years ago. VTW, certainly its own entity. And then wrestling you're obviously a clear-cut backyard trampoline wrestler at the moment. And for him to do this, as I've stated, I truly think as long as I've been doing this, this is the one passing in the torch match that I've seen so far in my few years in doing this.
Well, absolutely. I mean, what the match with Chase Wakefield is going to do for me will be tremendous, because I believe that it's completely restored my confidence from where I was after coming out of BCW 150,
Yep.
Tripomania, BCW 153. Coming out of that really rough stretch for my career. Going into this match and having a victory against a man of his caliber. In my opinion, that puts me right in the conversation where I belong, and who will be challenging for the BCW championship this summer. And I think that's exactly where I belong. And as for American Anarchy, coming up next Saturday night, I think it's a shame. I think it's a disgrace. I was somebody, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I came up with the name for that show a few years ago. It's like
it's morphed into more than just one match. It's now
absolutely.
morphed into another premium live event here at BCW, and
Yes.
we're going to certainly plug BCW here in a minute. I'm going to put the match up. I know that there's some people here in the chat. We want to get to everybody. We're here with Maxel Reeves, and My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, and if you're here on Sports by Radio, if you'd like to like, share, and subscribe, please do. And I'll also be back here tomorrow night, same time, same bad channel, with the infamous Montana, who hasn't been here on Sports by Radio in about, I'd say, 16 months. So we're certainly getting back in the swing of things. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. But, it's also important, this match, because he just defeats Aaron Blaze. Aaron Blaze is obviously a guy that's been talked about. He's a peer of yours. He's a guy that has made the transition. He's the traveling wrestler who's blazed his own trail, and that was a highly anticipated match. Aaron Blaze is also a part of a match coming up at the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational with one D'Angelo LaFlame, who was here. So Chase Wakefield getting a victory over an Aaron Blaze restores his confidence. Now, his confidence, he was in the same shoes that you were for a while, because he's been well documented in his struggles and throughout the last year. And even one guy, Silas Walker, came on here and said he shouldn't even have his wedding invitational and his wedding show here on Sportswire. So this is a monumental win because of other reasons. He's had his own struggles. You've obviously had your own, but he's coming off a victory of a man that you've been linked to, a man that is a peer in your own state, a man that is obviously somebody that always gets talked about. So I think this is an historic victory. Now, I know that a lot of people are going to say, well, James Taylor and Dalton Skull, James Taylor's back on the trampoline, but that's a little bit of a different place because those two guys are established. What Wakefield did coming to you and wanting a match with you shows that, sure, Maxel Reeves doesn't have that BCW championship again, but Maxel Reeves is one of those guys that he's got the charisma. He's got the fans. He's helped build BCW. And Chase Wakefield has been one of those guys that has helped build DBW, that has been a part of great shows in the past like Best in the Yard, VTW. He's been a staple on and obviously creating his own shows. So I think there's just so many things and so many storylines here. But really, this got your mojo back, just like it got Chase Wakefield's mojo back when he defeated Aaron Blaze to qualify for the penitentiary match for the World Extreme title in DBW. So there's a lot of similarities here between both you guys.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, him when I watched that match, him versus Iron Blaze, I watched that live and I saw that and I realized that, I'm really going to get a run for my money at BCW 155, and I watched it back, in preparation for BCW 155. And I was just, I'm somebody who's very committed to the craft of professional wrestling. I work hard at the gym 7 days a week. I'm somebody who, going into these things understands the gravity of what this event could be. And that's exactly what I did, going into the match with Chase Wakefield. But yeah, I knew coming out of his victory against Aaron Blaze, against, an established guy like Aaron Blaze, I knew that, this was going to be something that, I'm going against a confident, established Chase Wakefield, has more experience than anyone I've wrestled before. And I went into that match and, I got the job done. I believed in myself. I believed in my own ability. And I just went out there and wrestled my best and walked away with the victory, which now I'm, completely back on track, back where I need to be, back chasing after the BCW championship.
Absolutely. And we're going to put the match up here in a second. And if you're here on Instagram or if you're out there in whatever verse you're watching this on, please go out there and follow Maxel Reeves and follow him on his journey. And really a truly historic watershed moment, I think, for the backyard circuit, for Chase Wakefield to return to the trampoline for the first time in a decade and wrestle Maxel Reeves. And regardless of the outcome, this was definitely a generational matchup, and we were very fortunate to see it. And we're now going to talk about that match here now on Sportswire, because I want to put the match up. I'm actually going to put it up because BCW has been so kind to obviously allow us to play it. So we're going to put that up here for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio. And we're going to go sync it up because we're going to do that in the interest of time. And I'm now going to get to the entrances. And here we go. And talk to me about what's going through your mind here and seeing what's ahead. And obviously you come out first. Talk to me about what's going through your mind here, Maxel.
So right here, in preparation to this event, I was in the locker room listening to music, getting in the right headspace, knowing that I've done the work, I've done the film study, I've done the work at the gym, knowing that I've nursed all my injuries from BCW 150. I'm completely back on track physically. Here mentally, I'm trying to get back on track. What's going through my head here is I hear my theme music, I hear the commentator, talking about the match and what this means for me, what this means for Chase Wakefield. Chase Wakefield obviously building momentum towards his wedding invitational, and with me obviously desperately wanting to get back to the BCW championship where I belong. After it was stolen from me, and then Tsunami did retain the BCW championship. I acknowledge that defeat. Coming out of the match with Tommy Good, I just was damn desperate in this moment. And as I'm seeing Chase Wakefield coming out here, I'm just absolutely locked in 100%. And it was surreal to stand across the ring from Chase Wakefield, from from someone who he was the first individual to come into BCW entirely through the internet. So none of us had ever met him. None of us had ever knew who he was. So
what was that like for you in the locker room, that you met a guy really that you've seen through here? I mean, what was that like?
It was surreal. It's it's like one of those things where it's it's almost like meeting a celebrity or somebody you see on TV and like that. You see them, and then you see them in person, and it's just it's an entirely different experience. Actually talking to them one-on-one and stuff like that. So I was definitely a little bit of that, of what it was like with Chase Wakefield here, and then here as the match is getting underway, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to showcase why I am the best in BCW. And then you see there the tights that I'm wearing in the ring. Those were actually from the beginning of my BCW championship reign. Those were the tights I was wearing when I won the BCW championship
in August.
Yep. And so that was the kind of frame of mind I was getting into with wearing that attire, just trying to inspire myself, reminding myself of the wrestling prodigy I know myself to be. I genuinely believe that I'm somebody who is capable of taking this industry by the throat, and that's what I plan on doing. And I am very confident in my abilities, and I also understand that there's going to be bumps along the road. There's going to be mistakes along the way, like Tripomania, like BCW 150. I just can't get discouraged. I just have to remain intelligent, remain vigilant, and be ready to seize every opportunity I have in the books. So now wrestling this match, that was a tremendous opportunity, as you see there. Yeah. But yeah, so wrestling this match, great opportunity, and now this could propel me to further opportunities in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of a buddy of mine, a former employer of mine who had run for office, because I work in politics as well. Steven Saperstein, his line would always be trust the process, trust the process. And, I think for you, that's probably going to be the same type of words you're going to continue to need to hear to get to where you are. But talk to me about wrestling him here to start. Now, obviously, you would think, from my vantage point, when I watched the match yesterday and before we went on the air, was that you actually had the advantage going into this, because this is your home turf. This is your home territory. Sure, Mr. Wakefield may be the veteran, but he hasn't been on a trampoline in a better part of a decade. Did you feel like you had a home field advantage here to start, or talk to me about that?
No, not necessarily. I didn't feel like I had a home field advantage, because I knew that Chase Wakefield was still somebody who, despite all my experience, almost wrestling, 5 years, 4 years, it'll be 4 years this August.
Mm-hmm.
So Chase Wakefield, who's wrestled over double that, it's somebody who I think he had all the experience in the world. I didn't think that home field advantage really played a factor in it. I just think we went out there, we competed, and it was two men who are hungry to have success in their wrestling career and prove a statement on the big platform and the growing platform that is BCW. And I'm just very thankful that I seized the moment. I mean, I can't lie. It would be a little bit more embarrassing than if I went to another promotion, lost to Chase Wakefield, than to lose to Chase Wakefield in my own company. That is something that that was also coursing through my mind. I didn't want after already losing to Tsunami, after already losing to Tommy Good, I didn't want someone to come in to BCW and defeat me in their first match. That's something first match in BCW. That's something I didn't want to allow to happen. And so that is why, I put in the work, and I studied the film and I went into this match and determined, ready to go. And as we're going to see in a few moments, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that you don't want to have him come into your environment and he beats you. And again, I'm going to still say it. He hasn't wrestled on a trampoline in a decade. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, he has more experience in whatever you want to call it, a ring, trampoline, mat. He's done a little bit, a small stuff, the indies. He's done a little bit of stuff on that. But really, I mean, to me, it's still a match where it's your home field. And obviously, yes, coming off the struggles that you've had, there's no question you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose any time, but especially after what you've been dealing with recently. So, in watching the match here so far, obviously Wakefield has shown he's a bit of a veteran, and he's definitely a guy that can do a number of different things. I've covered him a lot now for a while. I've watched a lot of his stuff, especially in DBW. What kind of wrestler was he compared to some of the other opponents you've been in the ring with here?
So he was definitely a little bit more technically proficient. He was very athletic. Moving around the ring, it was like hard to keep track of him. And like in the beginning, he was definitely one of the more faster, more versatile wrestlers I've ever faced. But I had the power advantage throughout the match, and I was able to use that to my advantage. And like even technically, when we were wrestling, I was able to hold my own. So definitely happy about that. But yeah, no, he definitely showcased his experience, and it was definitely noticeable immediately that this guy, wasn't born yesterday. That this is somebody who's been around the block, and who's somebody who is who he says he is. Which is a tenured professional wrestler who's been all around. And, that's exactly, what he proved himself to be. There was a few moments where, I almost lost this match. I almost lost, on that roll-up pin. It came very close. Thank God I was able to kick out of that. But, yeah, Chase Wakefield and Maxel Reeves are, two incredible wrestlers. And I feel like if we ever get the opportunity to face again, I mean, I'd love to see what would happen. But, yeah. I definitely think that this match was incredible for my career, and I'm excited to see where this leads me.
Well, you said something very interesting, and I'd like to actually expound upon that as we're getting toward the end of the match. You said, correct me if I'm wrong, that Chase Wakefield and Maxel Reeves needs to happen again. Is that correct?
I think it would be interesting, 100% for sure. I think it would be interesting to see what would happen in a different context with a little bit more history, haven't faced before. But yeah, I think it would be something that could be of interest for sure.
Now I know he's booked. He's booked against Matt DeMorris, but he does have a Chase Wakefield wedding invitational coming up. I mean, I would think that you would get at least an invite for that. And certainly if Mr. Wakefield has maybe some spots available, maybe, I don't know, maybe you guys could run it back there on top of his match with Mr. DeMorris. I mean, what is your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, as far as me with the wedding invitational, you'll just have to see. You'll have to see if our,
I'll see. He'll be back on Sportzwire. I already spoke to him a few days ago. He's going to be back on here in the next few weeks. So yeah,
very nice. I'll have to check it out. But yeah, as far as me at the wedding invitational, you just have to keep your eyes peeled. Maybe I'll show up. Maybe I'll be able to make it. If I'll look into it, see what's possible, see what we can do. But yeah, you never know what might happen in the world of professional wrestling. A lot of people didn't expect Chase Wakefield to show up in BCW, but obviously he did. And so you never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to show up where. So all I'm going to say for the wedding invitational, for future wrestling shows, for anything in general, for BCW television, seeing some guys you might know, keep your eyes peeled because
Well, I think it was a very cool thing what he did. And I think that I would like to see more of this. And speaking of that, and obviously I see the outcome of the match, and you certainly had your respect you paid to him. And it was obviously a classy match, and a match that obviously a lot of people, I think, are going to be talking about here for quite a while as we see a preview of what's to come here for this Saturday's go-home show to American Anarchy. But do you think Chase Wakefield will be back in BCW again? Do you see this more than just a one-off, or what do you think about Chase Wakefield again in BCW? What is your opinions on that?
I think it's definitely possible. There's powers that be that are higher than me, and you'll just. I mean, I guess we'll have to find out. I'm somebody who definitely likes to keep a lot of surprise in professional.
Yeah, don't tip anybody off on this platform, because then somebody will come out of the shadows and talk about it, and the word will travel. So yeah, that's a good
Yes.
idea.
So yeah, definitely want to keep all of that private, but I think there's definitely a world where that could happen, and we could be running it back, and you'll never know. So that's what I'll just say: keep your eyes peeled. And maybe not the most appetizing answer.
But I think that obviously, clearly, Mr. Wakefield had a match that was monumental, and obviously he's here in the chat. I have a few comments from him, and I know that there's other people we'll get to shortly. I'll read off the chat in a few minutes, but I would have to think that it would be nice to see him here again more often. I think that people would be interested in that. I think obviously what he brought to the table, and it was a good match. I think people enjoyed it, and I think that he probably would feel the same way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think he made a tremendous first impression on BCW and on BCW management, and yeah, I think there's a lot of potential, a lot of excitement around the prospect of him returning. When he showed up in BCW, everyone was surprised. Everyone couldn't believe it. It delivered a great shock moment to BCW.
Yeah.
So
It was a great shot, and I think it was a great moment also for the backyard circuit, because I do think that the backyard circuit in the last several months, there hasn't been much of this. There hasn't been. Yes, Aaron Blaze has certainly gone to BTW. I think that's been great. I think there's been some other things, but I think the backyard circuit kind of needed this kind of shot in the arm, because I do think that in the circuit as a whole, I really think that this was needed, because I do think that there's been some things and out there, but I think that this was a good moment, and I think that if Mr. Wakefield came here, and I know that he certainly has other colleagues out there that he works with in some of the similar promotions that we've talked about here tonight, maybe we would see some of them, some of those people that he shares a locker room with, hopefully. I mean, not to throw names out there, but I would hope that it's not just Mr. Wakefield, Mr. Reeves, that there would be maybe some others that he shared a locker room with,
I think, I think Chase Wakefield coming into BCW it broke this idea, this concept that people may have had where BCW's kind of closed invitation. As we saw with Chase Wakefield, that's not the case. With BCW, there's potential for anyone to come in. There's potential to work with anyone. A lot of people, have contacted us. They want to work with us. They're excited to work with us, and stuff like that. And we've been in some discussion with some people, maybe, but you never. All I can say is you never know what's going to happen, and you got to keep your eyes peeled. But I think definitely what this debut in BCW showed was that BCW's doors are open, and that forbidden door to BCW it can open.
Which is something I've talked about here for a very long time, and this predates me covering backyard and underground wrestling. That was when I was just covering British wrestling and independent wrestling, because I'm a big believer in that. Listen, I mean, we're here, and I think this is more for a larger cause than just coming on here and interviewing wrestlers, and I think that that's what Sportswire has been built on. I think that the impact of Sportswire is larger than how many people view it or how many subscribers or followers, and I think that what Mr. Wakefield did is truly a generational thing. It's a passing of the torch moment, whether people want to say it or not. To me, it is. And I certainly hope it does break the forbidden door. To see others and who those names might be, well, we'll have to find out. But we are going to get to some people in the chat, because I want to talk to them before I transition to the second half of the show, because we do have some comments, and I'd like to get to them. And obviously, there he is, the man, the myth, the Bitcoin billionaire himself, Chase Wakefield. Yes, he was very excited about that, and we're very excited to have him here. And Zilla is always a staple here and a staple on BCW shows when they go live. And you guys have a show here coming up this Saturday, which people need to go to BCW's YouTube page for to find out and join the conversation. BCW shows big numbers. Yep,
we appreciate Zillow. A lot of support from Zillow. She's always commenting, always engaging with us stuff. Very active in the community. So
she's the most active one. She's the one constant in my chats. I could have on an indie wrestler like the rare bird Chris Phoenix, and Zilla's there for it. And there is the rare bird who really is a rare bird. He's really a rare bird, and He's not too far from West Virginia, a little further away, but the same concept. But he did
Yeah.
want to say, "What's up, gentlemen and gentle ladies?" Yes, Zilla is here, and she's gentle. And hello. Speaking of one of your peers, congratulations to Abram Storm and CSW. They just crossed the 200 subscriber milestone. Hey, listen, every
Nice.
100 counts. We were there once. You and I were both at the low number counts. So
keep up the hard work to everyone out there. All the wrestling companies out there. We want to see everybody flourish.
Absolutely, yes.
And just keep at it. And those smaller milestones, they can only lead to bigger ones.
They can. Listen, we were there. Listen, you know what? Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere. And let me give Abram a little plug because he just hit 200. And he graduated high school. He graduates high school, and he's got
congratulations.
Definitely a great milestone. And hopefully, stay in school would be my advice. Stay in school and keep up the good work. And the best is yet to come for you. So there you go. Thank you for that. Thank you, Abram. I see some other people here in the chat. We'll come back to them. And we got Shane Davidson, who is that guy. I see he's doing a couple different things in the Indies, and he hasn't been here in a minute. But how you doing? Nice to see you. Hello. And he hasn't been here in a minute, so he doesn't really know about the War Chant intro, which really credited to Terrence Banks. Yeah, the last he was here was we're still doing the long intro, but it wasn't really five. They're 5 minutes now. So, but. There was Shane Davidson. He used to be Armageddon.
It's an important show, deserves an important intro, so you got to deliver.
You're in prime time, baby, and you're definitely that. And you're that guy that, to quote LL Cool J, you're that type of guy that should be getting that intro. And thank you, Shane Davidson, for being here. And Maxel's face glowed since the last time I seen him. Well, he defeated Chase Wakefield. He's getting ready for his future, and he's got a lot in his mind. And he talked about that in his promo to lead up to the show here tonight. And Mr. Wakefield has a comment. You definitely surprised me, Maxel. I was completely out of my element. You took that to advantage, and there will be a round 2, and I'll be way more prepared. Now, this obviously piggybacks off what we were just talking about there, Maxel, and I have to ask that question. And I know I brought up the wedding invitational, and you obviously said stay tuned, and Mr. Wakefield's busy tonight. Okay, fair play. But does it have to be in BCW round 2? Does it be somewhere else? Or he says there'll be a round 2. I mean, what do you think of that?
I think it could happen in BCW. It could happen in any promotion that's willing that's willing to host it. If it's if Chase Wakefield wants this time to be on his turf over there, that's fine by me. That's something that we could make happen. But yeah, I think it doesn't really matter where the match is as much as the fact that the match happens. As he said in that comment right there, he going into BCW 155, he underestimated me. Maybe he underestimated this company, and that's something I don't think people should do. People shouldn't underestimate what I'm capable of.
We were talking about this the last week on Sportswire. It's a great point you made because we were talking with Rad Dad Radley Belmont, who's a legend in the backyard circuit, the GBYW, and he's been here on Sportswire several times, and he was actually an example of somebody that his opponent may have took him for granted and maybe didn't prepare for him adequately. And a guy, Darius Carter, who's one of the best independent wrestlers, probably never to have been in WWE or AEW. He's number 152 in the PWI 500. And Rad Dad took an example of that and defeated him to win the Mat Pro Wrestling Grand Pro Championship. We have a guy that just came on here Tuesday, who's his stepson. Yes, he has a stepson in wrestling. And Connor Schaefer, who's the flag boy. And he's wrestling a guy who's coming on here Sunday night, 10 o'clock Eastern time, to get bundles, who's from OVW. And we were talking about that product. And I agree completely with you, Max. So I think sometimes guys do take for granted or maybe don't prepare as adequately. Guys that they may think maybe they're lesser talents or maybe they haven't been on the same stage or the same number of followers as where they're used to. And I think it's a good point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think people can come into BCW. They can underestimate what it is, and I think the Chase Wakefield's appearance in BCW it showcased one thing to everybody who wants to come into BCW, and that is that the door's open. You're welcome to compete in BCW, but just know that we're going to bring our best, and we're going to do our best at representing BCW as what we believe to be the best promotion in backyard wrestling. So that's exactly it.
Well, there's no question you guys are one of the best ones. I can't say the best because we're on Sportswire. Then the next company will come on, Mr. Reeves.
I know.
You
We're allowed to believe that we're the best, though.
can say anything you want. For me,
But
I mean, I'll hear
I
it
got
from
you.
the backyard. If I say any wrestling company's the best, if I say WWE is the best, I'm going to hear it from somebody. So,
Yeah.
but yes, we love BCW here in Sportswire. We love BCW. We love all the companies that come on here, all of them. IMF, ROEW, NEW, BTW is back here next weekend. We love all of our companies. Wrestling Zero. We got Matt Pro Wrestling. We got WVWF. We got Excel Wrestling.
You do a great job at hitting all the marks and getting out there and having really everybody on and being a great platform
Yeah,
for all
the
professional.
people want us with GTS. I got complimentary feedback from GTS. They were like, I see you, we appreciate you, and yeah, even GTS appreciates it now. And took them a minute, but yeah, we have great companies. We love everybody. We have bands, Grand Funk Railroad. We're an American band. Mark Farner was here, hit like 3,000 views on a clip. But give Maxel a follow on Instagram. Enough about me. It's about Maxel. And, check him out. Also, please hit the sub button for BCW. I see a bunch of people have come into the chat now in the last 5 or 10 minutes. So please support BCW. They're on the road to 2,000 subscribers, and they also have their Go Home show coming up here this Saturday night, and that's going to take place here before American Anarchy. And you'll want to check that out. There's a lot to talk about there. And obviously, a Swagger is back. That's going to also take place 6 o'clock Eastern Time. American Anarchy is next Saturday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Now it's summer about to be in swing this weekend. You got no excuses. You got to go out there, have a good time, go to the movies, have a barbecue, sit in the pool, put your YouTube link up wherever it is, and just watch BCW because there's going to be a lot to talk about here on Sportswire over the next few weeks. The Underground OG, speaking of legends, speaking of those that have certainly innovated, especially when it comes to shows like Summer Bash, which is taking place in a couple of weeks. I know we'll be talking about that next Friday night with one Sean Jovi, who makes his return to Sportswire. But the Underground OG Darkron is back from ROEW. And speaking of people from BTW, Steven Storm, who, by the way, wrestled Aaron Blaze recently. And he is in the house and wants to say, what's up, and give CSW a follow. And hello. And hello, everyone's saying hello. And yes, congratulations to CSW. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, with all music and wrestling matches. Okay, so obviously, I've talked a lot about Chase Wakefield. I've talked a lot about that victory. We've talked about the magnitude of it. He's here in the chat. I got that. Obviously. We're going to see a round 2 win. Who knows? Other people coming to BCW. Who knows? Stay tuned. But coming up here, American Anarchy. I want to go back to that before we sign off because you're not on this card. You're not advertised this Saturday. And it goes back to the beginning of our conversation. When I asked you, Maxel Reeves, about the state of BCW in your opinion. Now, I would think, right, after a huge victory, a monumental passing the torch victory, the ramifications of your victory goes far and beyond the walls of BCW. But yet, I see not only no Maxel Reeves, American Anarchy, coming up this Saturday, I see nothing about Maxel Reeves advertised, but rather I see Ace Swagger returns is advertised, and I see a face-off with JC Comet and Tommy Good. And I ask you, Maxel Reeves, what's up with that?
Yeah, so here's what I think's up with that. I think it's incredibly disrespectful. In my opinion, I'm the singularly most responsible man in BCW for its success. And to be disrespected by being off of American Anarchy this year when it's, a 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, who knows what's going to be announced this Saturday,
Right.
Who knows what's coming, who knows. But we know at least it's a multi-card show. It's a multi-match show. The first American Anarchy, it ended with me and NJN forming the Masters of Brutality. I didn't have a match, but it ended with me and him forming the Masters of Brutality. American Anarchy last year, I went out there and I made a quick statement against NJN and got attacked. But I never had a match in American Anarchy, and it's something that I always wanted, to do. And, I pivot back earlier to saying that I should have defeated Tommy Good. in order to earn the opportunity to defend the hardcore championship at American Anarchy, but I didn't do that. That didn't go my way. Tsunami was out there, BCW 154, and he made that proclamation that he doesn't care who it is. He'll fight like whoever wants to step up to the plate to wrestle him in American Anarchy can do so. And a lot of people have been asking me why I didn't do that. Why didn't I answer that open challenge? Why didn't I walk out there before NJN did? Because there was certainly ample time for me to walk out there instead of NJN if I wanted to. And the real answer is after BCW 154, after coming off the loss, BCW 150, after coming off the loss, Tripomania, after coming off the loss, BCW 153, I knew that I didn't want to go straight back after the BCW championship unless I felt like it was earned, unless I felt like it was deserved. And then at BCW 154, I went out there and I said some of those things about how I needed competition to get back to the BCW championship. Outwalks Chase Wakefield.
Anyone from anywhere. Didn't have to be BCW.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And Chase Wakefield answered the call. He walked out there. I was very surprised by that. Going into BCW 155, got that major victory, one of the bigger victories of my career as far as what that will do for me and how people perceive me as a wrestler. And now I believe I'm in a position to go back after the BCW championship again, rightfully. So despite the fact that I'm not on American Anarchy, which I think is a major disservice to my credibility and my responsibility and what I've done for BCW. However, though, whoever's winning in that main event, NJN or Tsunami, I'll be waiting for them on the other side no matter what it takes.
But you'd obviously think that you would be a part of at least Saturday's show. I mean, what a way to almost throw away what you did. I mean, there's no question you would want to see Maxel Reeves this coming Saturday to say a few words about what he did to Chase Wakefield or even American Anarchy. But like I said, the lack of advertisement of Maxel Reeves. Now, is it fatigue of what you talked about, prior losses? Maybe that could certainly be a factor, but you still nevertheless should be advertised for something, whether it's a few words, a promo of some sorts, especially coming off a victory over a man like Chase Wakefield. So it goes back to the beginning of our conversation tonight, and in the state of BCW for Maxel Reeves probably isn't the state that, well, it once was even just a few months ago when you last came back here.
Yeah, I mean, you make a lot of valid points. You really do. It's a situation of, I feel like, it is a good idea for me to be on BCW 156 to explain my thoughts coming out of the match with Chase Wakefield, where I want to go now, saying some of this, what I'm saying right here, saying that on that show. But unfortunately, it's not. Maybe I could have something in the works with management. Maybe I could get on that show, whether it be a small message, whether it be me walking out there. But regardless of what it is, I still think you're right. It is a disgrace. I should
blame Tsunami for this, because Tsunami, when he was here, to remind you of this, when you guys were last here, talked about Maxel Reeves, and this isn't the Maxel Reeves you see on TV, and Maxel Reeves is not this guy he portrays to be. And do you hold him accountable in any way?
I do. I do hold him accountable in the sense of what I know he's doing behind the scenes. I don't want to speak on too much because if I speak it out there into existence, it's not really going to have any positive effect. But I still know what he's trying to do behind the scenes, trying to take full control of this company. But I'm still very well liked in management. I still have a lot of people in management that are on my side and, see along with me, that respect the body of work that I've given. However, I don't feel like I get enough respect. I don't feel like I get enough respect for everything I've done. I don't think I've get enough respect for the fact that nobody has wrestled more matches in BCW than me. And I'm going to be more serious.
Yes, what you've talked about here. You've talked about the fact on this platform in prior times, you're also the longest reigning hardcore champion in BCW history as well.
Yep, tied with Tsunami for the most BCW title reigns. I'm somebody. Nobody has my accolades, my repertoire in BCW that I do. And I just feel that I should be respected for not only those accolades, but for my role in building BCW into one of the most successful backyard companies out there today. And I feel like I'm not getting enough respect from people within BCW, from people behind the scenes, from people outside of BCW. I don't feel like I'm getting enough respect. And as a result, I think I have to be more serious, and I have to command and take respect. And like an instance where I seized the moment and I took respect, I forced people to respect me, is when I defeated Chase Wakefield. And when I defeated Chase Wakefield, I showed the world that I am worthy of respect, that I am worthy of your recognition, and that I am someone to be considered. And I'm not no underdog. I'm the damn favorite, and that's exactly who I am and what I say I'm going to be.
So what is it going to take then for Maxel Reeves to be a part of, at the very least, American Anarchy? Because I get that. I get what you've said. I understand the explanation loud and clear, but then what is it going to take? Do you have to do more? Do you have to do something else? Or am I missing something?
I don't know. I mean, I think their perspective on it is, well, I don't know exactly what I would do at American Anarchy, considering the fact that I'm not wrestling for a championship. So I don't know if that's maybe a factor, if they don't have someone for me to wrestle, if that's a situation, if availability is a concern. I don't know exactly what the issue is or why I'm not placed on American Anarchy, but I do feel that leaving me off the show is a disservice both to me and to that card, because I feel that my name will help draw that card in even bigger numbers. And I feel like it's a mistake on BCW's behalf. And it's something that, we're going to have to discuss and talk about moving forward backstage, about just me feeling disrespected. And, you're right. You're asking that question. What do I have to do to get on American Anarchy? I proved myself as the most conversation worthy wrestler in BCW, the biggest household name, if you will. And that I'm somebody who should be advertised at the epitome of each show. And that's just the way it is. That's not me having an ego. That's not me bragging. You're right about that. You're 100% right. That's how it is. But at the end of the day, they do not respect me, because I do not have the BCW championship anymore. So when I acquired
that is the prize. That's the prize that we all compete for. It's one of the richest prizes in our sport. And right now, you don't have it. And Tsunami has it. And we'll see. You make a point about NJN. And will NJN reclaim his championship? That, it's obviously been well documented what you and him went through with that championship. So then I ask you before we sign off tonight, then what is next in the immediate future for Maxel Reeves?
Well, I'll say it right here on Sportswire for the first time, and I'm going to be very confident when I say this. NJN, Tsunami, I don't care who it is. I don't care who's winning, who's standing at the end of American Anarchy. NJN, I think it's going to be you, but Tsunami, if you manage to cheat and get past American Anarchy with your BCW championship, I will be standing on the other side firmly, waiting for my opportunity to seize the BCW championship.
Whoa! So it sounds to me like Maxel Reeves has declared here live tonight on Sportswire Radio in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform that he and BCW will certainly help build, that he's got next. He's next man up after next Saturday. Well, regardless of who walks away with the BCW championship, whether it's Tsunami or NJN, you're next man up.
I'm next. And if anyone wants to take that spot for me, open invitation. You can come try to fight me and take that spot for me. But now that I got my confidence back, everything is in order. I'm going to get exactly what I deserve, which is my BCW championship back and my reputation upheld to where it belongs at the highest prestige as the greatest wrestling prodigy of this generation.
Well, I'll tell you what, there is no question that Maxel Reeves' career and for this generation, the backyard and underground wrestling circuit has been most certainly solidified with his huge victory over the iconic Bitcoin billionaire Chase Wakefield, a man that is going to be a part of another iconic super show once again this weekend, Best in the Yard 5. He's also got his own Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational, which everybody's been talking about. We've been talking about that here for the better part of 9 months on Sportswire. There's no question that Maxel Reeves, for this next generation of backyard wrestlers, his career has definitely been solidified. But just like Goldberg, who came out this Monday, and well, he's next for Gunther, it seems like Maxel Reeves has said to Tsunami and NJN, you're next. You're next when it comes to that BCW championship.
Granted, I feel like I've worked a lot harder than Goldberg has.
I think, you know what? I think everybody that comes on to Sportswire, because basically, all Gunther said really was, he said a few words about his son, and, and Goldberg, who hasn't wrestled a match in 3 years, all of a sudden.
It's the same old routine. He comes
it's the same thing, and, and I don't even know what he'll be able, just a slight detour. I haven't really
Sometimes he
talked.
wins the damn thing and it just messes everything up.
Yeah, people are gonna go back to the whole thing with
Everything.
what was it with Kevin Owens and Bray Wyatt when he won
Yeah.
the titles there and he won it. And yeah, I don't even know at this point what he could do in the ring. I think that's obviously a question that I mean, who knows really?
Let's hope for the best. It's Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, let's hope for the best on that. But you know, I want to ask you two more questions before closing. I actually want to ask you one more question on Chase Wakefield. You know, Chase Wakefield, obviously, you talked about him coming here, and it's the first guy outside of the BCW realm that came here. And I was just curious for you and maybe some of the other guys, did Chase Wakefield provide any advice for you guys in what you guys are trying to do? Did he provide any insights if you asked him any at all?
Yeah, definitely. When he came in, you know, he definitely provided a lot of insight. It was definitely a learning experience, and it was one I learned more from this match than I have in a lot of you know, previous matches. Learned a lot about the art of professional wrestling. Learned a lot about you know, myself as an individual. It was definitely a learning experience, and it was one that, you know, I'm very fortunate to have had in my career, and one I'll never forget. And yeah, I'm definitely excited to what the future leads to down the line. But I feel like it was a great learning experience, you know, having him come in and show a little bit of what he's learned and what he's done, and bringing that pedigree to BCW, which is, you know, establishing its own popularity and its own prestige in its own right. And, you know, meshing those two together, meshing, you know, his career, his reputation with the growing reputation of BCW. It was a match made in heaven. And that's exactly what happened. And, you know, I'm definitely looking forward to, you know, what's to come with BCW, you know, Chase Wakefield, you know, anyone else out there. You know, I think, you know, the world's our oyster, and, you know, we'll see what happens in this unexpected world of professional wrestling.
Absolutely, no question about that. And I think certainly this was again, generational. Whether Mr. Reeves agrees or not, it is a passing of the torch match, and it certainly solidifies BCW's seat at the table at the forefront of the backyard wrestling circuit, and certainly BCW's engagements, its view counts, its people in the chats continue to grow with each and every show. And I think that what Chase Wakefield did, since I think even we went on the air, it's gained like 10 or 15 views alone. So clearly people are really intrigued to watch the match. And again, BCW, before we sign off and we ask Mr. Reeves one more question, we'll have the go home show 156, 6 o'clock. We've got obviously a face-off still. Ace Swagger's coming back. Obviously, we're going to see what happens with Tommy Good in that Hardcore Championship. We're also going to have American Anarchy, which, again, we still don't know why Maxel Reeves is not a part of that. That's a different conversation for a different time. Yeah, it's a thing we're going to continue to talk about, but that's also going to take place the following Saturday, but 8 o'clock Eastern time. So the same bat channel, but only different time. So go to BCW on YouTube here, hit the sub button for BCW, and you can be able to be a part of these shows and maybe join the chat like Zilla has. All right, so let me ask you one more question here before we sign off here and get to closing thoughts. You want to have any words for Tsunami or NJN? I know you got something left in you, and I ask you, you have any parting shots for those two before we see who walks away with that championship next Saturday?
Absolutely. You know I do, Tom. So first off, for NJN, you know, you're somebody who your career and my career is, you know, inexplicably linked together. We're linked together forever in that vein. You know, you came into BCW. I brought you into BCW. I brought the Masters of Brutality together. But there's a false narrative that you perpetuated in your last promo against Tsunami. You went out there and you said that you got me to do your dirty work. But in reality, all the Masters of Brutality did was manipulate you to execute my bidding. And I let you do that because you like the power of the BCW championship. And then eventually it became too much for you. It weighed you down, and then I beat you down in that ring, fair and square. And then I held the BCW championship, went on one of the best BCW championship reigns of all time, following it up after beating the undefeated NJN. And then I went into the match with Tsunami, and Tsunami was so insecure. He was so incapable of facing the man that is Maxel Reeves and what I've done, what I've accomplished in BCW. My name has grown to this tremendous value that he just couldn't compare. He just couldn't stand across the ring from. So he felt that he had to go cheat. He felt that he had to go sneak his way and lie and manipulate his way to the BCW championship and commit thievery, and that's exactly what he did. BCW 150, he just barely got the edge up on me, barely. At the end of that match, I didn't give up, I didn't submit, I didn't say die, and then now I'm still sitting here, I'm still standing, I still have air in my lungs. Tsunami, I'm coming back after your BCW championship. NJN, if you beat Tsunami like you've shown you can do, like you've shown you've historically been shown to do, I'm going to come back after my BCW championship because there's nothing that is going to stop Maxel Reeves in BCW. I'm the most dedicated damn man on this entire roster, and there's nothing stopping Maxel Reeves.
Well, I'll tell you what, there is definitely a lot of questions, and we'll certainly, I'm sure, ask some of those after American Anarchy. But I know for sure one thing I learned tonight is that Maxwell Reeves is far from through when it comes to reclaiming that BCW World Championship, a championship he has held on multiple occasions. And we're going to certainly find out to see who walks away with that championship after American Anarchy. Will it continue to be Tsunami? Or will NJN reclaim a championship that he certainly spent a long time with, and he was an unstoppable force? And you can certainly see more of BCW on the BCW YouTube page. And speaking of people that have returned to the trampoline, James Taylor has got his own match here coming up with Dalton Skull. I know he'll be here very soon, once again, back on Sportswire Radio. We'll figure out a time in the next several days to make that happen. He would like to say hello. Obviously, ROEW certainly always around. Dark Crown was in the house and one of our staples. And yes, hit the sub button for BCW. And yes, we're saying hello to everybody. But if you've walked in here in the chat, I know a lot of people have been in and out. But to recap before we sign off tonight, Maxel Reeves was here and he talked about what his future is. He talked about how he feels about the state of BCW is. And he talked about certainly his generational victory over one Chase Wakefield, and also declared that he's up next when it comes to who walks away with that BCW World Championship next Saturday at American Anarchy between the incumbent Tsunami and the former champion NJN. And yes, I agree, Zilla, that we're all going to be keeping a close eye on that match next Saturday and the rest of the card as well, because there'll be a lot more updates. Stay tuned to BCW for it. My friend, I'm going to pass the baton to you. I'm going to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? The floor is yours. Be my guest.
Absolutely. So I just want to say on behalf of BCW, I want to say thank you for all the support and the tremendous growth we've seen. And on a personal note, do not worry about me. I am getting exactly back where I belong. My win against Chase Wakefield is going to solidify that, and I will be right where I belong, at the top of this company, at the top of the mountain, because I know exactly the man I'm capable of being, and that's exactly what I'm going to show after I defeat Tsunami or NJN. Whoever walks away after American Anarchy, they have to face me, and they understand that that is an incredibly daunting task, because they're both two people who've had tremendous trouble with me in their career. Tsunami still, I believe now it's about even. The matches we've won and lost against each other. But before Trampomania, before he stole to win that championship, I had the leg up. I had the advantage all time against Tsunami. NJN, he beat me once. I beat him 4 times. So he's somebody. I have both of their numbers.
And recent wins against him. Recent wins.
Yes, I have both of their numbers. NJN hasn't been the same since losing the championship after me. It sent him into this declining state of madness, and it doesn't really matter who wins the championship, because these are the two guys who I'm in their head the most. And so after American Anarchy, I'm in perfect position to recapture my BCW championship.
And there's no question that I am reminded famously, there's a lyric in a song from a band called The Doors, and it's a song, L.A. Woman, and Jim Morrison, God rest his soul, famously sings, "It's the mojo rising." And Maxel Reeves' mojo is definitely rising, ladies and gentlemen, because he seems he's back where he wants to be, back on track to reclaiming the richest prize around, that is that BCW championship, coming off his monumental generational victory that solidified his career in our circuit against the Bitcoin billionaire Chase Wakefield. Maxel Reeves may be the master of brutality, but his mojo is most certainly rising. And you can find out more on why his mojo is rising on his Instagram page. Go give him a follow. Check out BCW on YouTube. Again, Saturday, 6 o'clock, Go Home Show 156. Following Saturday, 8 o'clock, American Anarchy. Check out more. Also, BCW is on Instagram. If you want to check out BCW Pro on Instagram, please go out there and support them. Support all the great wrestling companies out there. Obviously, I see BTW, ROEW here. They're all going to be back here in the near and distant future. And I know James has got his own match he's going to be talking about here very soon as well. So great stuff, my friend. First of all, congratulations on the big victory. Looking forward to seeing what happens here at American Anarchy, and most certainly talking about the fallout from it next month here on Sportswire Radio. And congratulations, and thank you for being here, and looking forward to next month.
Sounds good, Tom. Thanks for having me. Pleasure as always.
You got it. That is Maxel Reeves, and my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. You have voice figuratively and literally with all music and wrestling matters. If you're here on Sportswire Radio, like, share, or subscribe to us. I'll be back here tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, with the infamous Montana of EBW Pro and also his own company. He's going to talk about a number of different things. Also want to wish a happy birthday to one Prince Achia. Prince Achia, the former IMF Midwestern champion, celebrates a birthday today. Happy birthday, my friend. Hope you have a blessed day. Thank you for all you've done for our sport. Thank you for all that you've done for us here on Sportswire Radio and everything you do out there in the ring. And I hope that you had a wonderful day, and the best is yet to come. And look forward to seeing you back on here. And I look forward to seeing everybody else back on here tomorrow night. Please follow BCW on all their platforms, Instagram, YouTube. Check out Maxel as well. And until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all music and wrestling matters. Thank you so much, everybody. Stay safe out there if you're dealing with different thunder and lightning, and have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.